Hello, and a warm welcome to our show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. And we're delighted to have back with us today Kenyan journalist Mutwiri Mutuota.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's always a pleasure to be discussing athletics in a show that does well for the sport. And yeah, it's always a pleasure, and I'm much very pleased to be in this show, and always a fan and a huge supporter for the show.
Thank you, Mutwiri. Now, I had originally planned to invite you back later in November, but with the extraordinary Kenyan performances in Chicago Marathon, I had to anticipate your return. So
Of
let's
course,
move this.
yes.
Let's move straight
That's the
away.
beauty of that's the beauty of our sport. You may plan something and then something just comes from like an ego swooping in to get something. So that's the beauty of this sport. It's not predictable. Anything can happen at any one time. And now we are able to talk about brilliant performances day in day out.
I definitely think some things were not predictable. So let's look then at the second, at the Autumn World Marathon Majors, which took place on Sunday, 13 October in Chicago. Now, both races were won by Kenyan athletes. Both of them dominated the fields. Among the men, John Corriera took off in the second half of the race to win in a PB of 2 hours 02:43. That's the second best mark of 2024, and it brings him to number 6 in the all-time list. Runners up, who were almost 2 minutes behind, Mohamed Esa of Ethiopia, 2:04:39, and Amos Kipruto of Kenya, 2:04:50. But the really stunning result came among the women, where for the first time a woman ran under 2 hours 10 in a marathon. From the start, over 7 minutes faster than runner-up, that is Sukume Asefa Kebede of Ethiopia. So 2:09:57 for Chepngetich, 2:17:32 for Sutume, and not far behind the Ethiopian was Irene Chepet Cheptai, also of Kenya, into 17:51. Now, Chepngetich's previous PB was 2:14:18, and that had also been set in Chicago. So you can't say that the advantage came from the notoriously fast course in the Windy City. So Mutwiri, pretty amazing race in Chicago.
Well, we are still struggling to comprehend what happened last Sunday. What started out as an attack. Remember, it's not even Chepngetich who had asked for the first time. It was Ethiopian. So we were just saying, okay, let's see how this pans out. But then again, before we go to Chepngetich, let's just touch about Korir John winning in 2:02:44. That's the second quickest time of the year, as you have noted. About Benson Kipruto, who won the bronze in Paris. And the funny thing is that his brother, Wesley Korir, won the 2012 Boston Marathon in 2:12:40. That means his younger brother has run 10 minutes and 24 seconds quicker to win a majors. Remember, the 2012 Boston was famous for all the favorites just being swept away because of a storm. But this time it was the younger Korir causing a storm of his own in winning in 2:02:44 or 43 when it was rounded up, which is a great way to break through for his majors. His coaching staff and everyone was saying that he's close to be a breakthrough. And unlike other Kenyan athletes, this guy actually trains in the United States. So it was very interesting to see somebody who trains outside Kenya coming in and doing such a performance. But then again, it was a very good men's race for the Kenyans. We managed to take 5 out of the top 10 positions. Let's talk about Kipruto. He has had a nightmare 2 years of injuries. To come back and to finish up in the podium since winning London very commendable. Remember, he had to drop out of Berlin last year, injured. And there was talk that maybe he might not come back at the very top, but doing 2:04:50, great work. We had Vincent Ketich hanging in there to finish just outside the podium, and then the debutant Daniel Simie Benyo. This is a boy we have seen running from the world under 20. Now he is mixing it with the big boys, and he did 2:06:04, which was a great return for a debut marathon at a major. And of course, Alex Masai, who finished number 9, just behind the top American in 2:08:22. So the men's race was a good outing for the Kenyans, and if it was maybe ranking by score, Kenya would ranked a lot of time, would have ranked very high. Now let's speak about the women's race. Now Chemgetich, whatever she did, yes, she threatened the world record even when she was doing 2:14 in Boston. Remember, she still went out very quickly, but then ran out of steam over the final 2 kilometers as she won, but not with the record that she wanted to break at the time. Then this time she came, and just to put it into perspective, if she was running the men's marathon, she would have finished position 11. That's how crazy this was. And it was one of those performances you call a performance of a lifetime. Can we call it a Mount Rushmore world record like the one that was set in Navratilova in the 800 meters in the 1980s? Maybe, maybe not. Because she has taken marathon running to a new frontier that we could not even get, 2:09:56. When you look at it, a lot has been said about this performance. It has even been discussed in the Kenyan parliament when the MPs were saying that journalists from America, Redstone, and all that should apologize for questioning the performance and whether it has anything to do with doping, especially when you heard that she's linked with a manager who has had issues with the seeing runners dope like Rita Jeptor and Jemima Sungong. But I think this is not about it. Even what those journalists were asking was, is it scarcely believable performance, which is very grounded on what the people who understand and love athletics know. Because look at it this way, the other person, the number 2, came almost 8 minutes behind. So that is something, it's the widest winning margin in any marathon ever run, man or female. I've been looking at those numbers since Sunday, and I can't seem to find anything close. The men's marathon, yes, there was some 2 minutes and some change. Even when Kipchoge and Kiptum were breaking the record, it was not such a yawning gap. Secondly, when you look at how it has been said in the era of fast shoes, technology, and all that, yes, we agree on that, yes. But this was one of the performances, like when Navratilova, was it in 1982 when she ran the 800 meters world record? We had
Kratochvilova, yes.
Yes, it was in the 1980s. It just stood up to today. Only Caster Semenya and Jerimo have come close, but not within a second of that world record. We had Daniel Comen's record last for 30-something years until it was broken earlier this year. So yes, records are there to be set and broken. But this is one record that people will be scratching their heads over for quite a long time. Because I don't think even she can put such a performance again, given the chance. And that is why people had to ask, what is? We are not saying that when I heard parliamentarians discuss this thing, Athletics Kenya also released a statement saying that, yes, we should not discredit our performance. Yes, no one is discrediting this performance, but people have to ask. Even when Bolt did Berlin, you took me to watch him in Berlin. Thank you. I'm always eternally grateful for that. We still questioned it for like 2 or 3 years until now no one seems to get quite close to it. So yes, maybe we have witnessed the peak of any performance in athletics, maybe for generations, or maybe this could be the start of something. We don't know. When the Ethiopian did 2:11 last year in Berlin, we were like, oh my God. Sif and Hassan the year before, we were like, oh my God. Now those younger teachers made us say, oh my God, once again. So we could be in a very exciting era in the marathon running for women, because I tend to think the men's marathon running, if you remove the great Kiptum from the picture, it's like it's plateaued to around 202, around that region. But now I think the women's marathon maybe has uncocked its peak, and we might see it evolving into something that you never thought. Maybe you could see women running, because at some point she was in 2:06 pace, which was quite staggering. Yeah. It was quite staggering, meaning that she'd have finished number 4 or number 5 in the men's race if she had continued going out like that. So these are some of the things that are making us really wonder and wait to see. It's sort of let's wait and see what happens from now on, because this is not something we can explain or we can plot or we can chart. When you look at for the Kenyans also, we had 4 Kenyans filling the top 10. Irene Cheptai, the last time you took me to the World Cross Anna in Kampala, she was there among the Kenyans who finished the top 6. They swept the top 6 for, I think, for the first time, and it had never happened again in the cross country. She was there in that team together with the late Agnes Tirop. May God rest her soul in eternal peace. We also had Stisindiwa, who finished 10, was also in that team. So I think this shows that these girls are maturing to come to the marathon running. And finishing that with 2:17:51, which would have won so many races this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think out of the 5 majors we've run, she would have won what? I think 4 of them, if not except London, for example. Yes, should have won any others with 2:17 to finish that. We had Jason Jepkoskei, who seems to be always around there somewhere. She did 2:20:51 for number 5, and of course, Tezindiwa, as you have mentioned, is the top end. So Chicago was one of those races where we need to pin as a country. We need to pin it somewhere in a wall or a mural. That, well, as far as dominance is concerned, having 9 runners finish in the top 10 in both men's and women's races, a world record to boot. Last year, Kenya came out to the Windy City again, and Kiptum did 2:00:35. So I think listening to all the athletes speaking after that, Korir, Chemngetich, and all others, they were saying, yes, we did it for Kelvin. So if there was any other better tribute for Kelvin, this was it.
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. Obviously, it was a very special race for Kenyan athletes because that's where Kelvin had set the world record before passing away in the car accident.
Yeah, with Chicago, you feel like you have come to the end of a cycle. I spoke to his Kenya manager, Barnabas Korir, just a few days before he ran, and he said, yes, all the tributes that you've seen for Kelvin, all the things even the Windy City did, a moment of silence, and all those things, they were quite moving tributes. I think it was coming full circle because February, it seems time has flown since that 12 of the night on 12 where we learned that Kelvin Kiptum has lost his life tragically in an accident. And leaving the mark at 2:00:35, I think that is also another. Okay, Commence was called Mount Everest. I don't know what they call 2:00:35 because I don't see any other male marathoner at this stage threatening that time because we've seen that this year, without Kelvin Kiptum, of course, and Eliud Kipchoge at his best, we've not cracked under 2:02. Yeah. So it means that we were witnessing an extraordinary or a once-in-a-generational athlete. Just like Eliud is, of course, for the time is catching up with him. Of course, Kelvin had come, and he may have hammered the clock down. But when you look outside the two, and we have brilliant Ethiopians in there, we have Tanzanians in there, we have Ugandans in there, we have so many other people in there who can, none of them seems to be coming anywhere close to what Eliud and, of course, Kelvin in his 3 races, the kind of times they were doing. So maybe we might stay like bold everybody when he broke the world record in 2009. You were like, yeah, it's only a matter of time, it's only a matter of time. But since then, how many years have elapsed since the 100 meters? No one comes close to the 9, even 9:55. No one has come close to that. Forget even 9:56. So we may have witnessed a once-in-a-lifetime athlete, once-in-a-generational athlete, and to see the Windy City and, of course, his compatriots and everybody else connected to athletics coming to honor him in such a way, it was beautiful.
Thank you, Mutwiri. Now, the last of the World Marathon Majors, New York Marathon, is coming up soon on 3rd of November. Now, I know that marathon races have become totally unpredictable, but Mutwiri, what do you think we can expect in New York?
History is going to be made in one way or another. Why? Let's talk about Ethiopia's Taminat Tora. He came in as a replacement for another athlete. I think it was Legese or a training partner. And he blew away the field in Paris. And not only did he just blow away the field, he obliterated them. No one came close to him for that gold medal. Well, if he wins New York, he's going to become, I think, the first person, if I'm not mistaken, to win the Olympics and the New York title in the same year. So there's some bit of history there. And when I look at the field up and down, when I was brushing through the field, I don't see anyone who has the ability to hammer down a race like him. When you look at the Kenyans in the mix, we have people like Evans Chebet. He won there in 2022 with 2 or 3 dead, and since then injuries have played a part in maybe derailing his career. But we don't know whether he's coming back to his imperious best. But if he is close to that time, 2 or 3, maybe we could have a race in our hands. We also have the likes of Geoffrey Cameron. Injuries again have plagued his career. He was supposed to go to the Olympics, but he couldn't, so he's there. We have Abel Kipchumba and Wesley Kipto. These are the other Kenyans maybe looking at there. But I think this is a terminatorial race to lose when you look at him chasing the aspect of history, winning the Olympics and a spring marathon back to back. I don't think that has ever happened before, so that is one thing to watch for. When it comes to the women race, it gets a bit interesting because we have the Helen Obiri in there. He's the reigning champion. He became the first woman to win Boston and New York in the same year last year.
Yeah.
This time he went to the Olympics. Again, he got out with a bronze medal, which was a heroic performance from her, considering of how tough the course was. And she's coming back as trying to be the first double repeat winner of the Boston and New York Marathon, having defended her title in Boston. Then we have Sharon Rocket, very interesting athlete here. Sharon was part of the Olympics team, and she did manage to hang into the top 5. But she had not even, like 2 weeks before the Olympics, she was very busy preparing for New York, but she was told the Kenyan team coming because Bridget Kosgei who was recently married, got injured, so she could not come and take her place in the Olympics. So Sharon In went in there. She's a 2:23:14 personal best, which was run decided at the Olympics. So it seems she was peaking by the time she went to run in Paris, which is going to be very interesting to see her there. Then we have one of the track greats, Vivian Cheruiyot, who's had a disrupted career in the last 3 years after winning London, when everybody thought now she has transitioned to the marathon running. But between their injuries and another child, and then more injuries, and then issues at home, have seen her in and out of the thing. But on her day, very few can beat her. So she's also in the field. So it's going to be very interesting. Then we have Shida Chipkirui, who has won this race before in 2022. She did 2:17:29. Now she's back. And she has also done another 2:17:49 in Berlin last year. One of those people that tend to fly under the radar, but on their day they can also cause an upset. So I think there'll be more drama in the women's race as opposed to the men. The men will be more straightforward. Whoever manages to beat Tamila Tora will be the champion for the men's. In the women's, I cannot tell you. I can't even predict who is going to take it. So we are going to adopt the wait and see attitude as far as the New York Marathon is concerned.
Thank you, Mutwiri. So before we leave road running for today, I'd like to return for a quick look at the Berlin Marathon, which took place on 29 September. So we had focused on the top performances, but there's another athlete who deserves a huge recognition, and that is Günther Hallas, who was the winner of the inaugural race back in 1974, and who completed the course for the 43rd time, aged 82. So really huge congratulations to Günther Hallas for continuing to love the sport.
I think he has the course at the back of his mind. At his home, he must have the course, because you can't complete the same course 40 something times. He doesn't even need markers anymore, does he? He can just go out there and he knows where to turn, where it is steep, where the race is punishment, where the race is punishing. So I think it's a testament that this is a sport above all. yes, we pay too much attention with winning. We pay past times, records, prize
Yeah.
money, endorsements, and all that. But we forget that running is a sport. Once Elliot told me that it's a beautiful sport, just being out there and running. And Muta is an example of what the soul and the essence of athletics should be. Just run out there to complete the race. I think it just shows the commitment and the beauty that makes athletics such an attractive sport. That it doesn't. There is no limit of time. There is no limit of time at
Yeah.
the top level. There is no limit of space. There is no limit of anything. Like my friend of swimmers, he said, no human is limited. So if we can go and do half a century of it, it will be such an awesome thing to accomplish.
Absolutely. Now, after reviewing road races, let's take the time to look back at all of 2024, which has been an absolutely fabulous year, both in Paris Olympics and beyond. So, Mutwiri, what were your five top moments of this fantastic year?
Well, it's very difficult to cram whatever has happened in 2024, being an Olympic year and all. And also, we seem to break barriers every year. We thought last year was great. Now this year has returned greater. So, but if you look at what I would say were the five things that impressed me in this season was let's start with Faith Kipyegon. What an athlete this lady is. She managed to win the Olympics again with an Olympics record. Had that title in 1500 meters. Never happened in any discipline, male or female,
Yeah.
holding the same title over the Olympic distance. Elliot tried, but you see what happened in Paris. So she was absolutely marvelous. Of course, she held on to her Diamond League title. Of course, she won so many other things. But we had a debate with one of my friends, James Okabi, who is the greatest Kenyan athlete of all time. And I remember telling him that if Faith goes there and repeats as an Olympic champion, that debate is closed. No other Kenyan athlete has ever achieved anything that she has achieved. And here's the most scary bit: she's not done. That's the scariest bit. So she might leave this sport at a place where no one can touch it, as far as the Kenyan athletics is concerned in Kenya, and not just Kenya, anywhere else. Because even her own peers, the way they respect her wherever they finish races, shows what an absolutely living legend she is. So I think she was able to settle that debate of the greatest Kenyan athlete of all time in 2024. So whatever she does from now moving up on going forward is just a bonus. That debate is done and dusted. The second moment for me of 2024 was Sydney McLaughlin, Levrone. I mean, what can we say about that lady that we have not said yet? She shows up at the Olympics, blows away her competition, and not just blowing them away, but just leaving them. There is no touch. Yes, people had put a lot of Femke Ball versus Sydney Levrone, and there was a lot of talk, but she managed to put an end to all that and cementing her greatness as the best female hurdler, or even male we have ever seen in history. So, again, just like Kipyegon, she's not done. So, it's going to be to see where she can push the frontiers. But her
Yeah.
performance at the Olympics, the grandest stage of all, left no doubt that who is the greatest. And and Femke is a brilliant athlete. We cannot argue about that. She puts in so much work.
Yes.
But Lebrone made her look mortal, look so ordinary. There was not even any sort of competition. It was just Lebrone versus the clock. And with and the World Championship and so many other things coming up in the next few years, I don't know where she will put Hadley as far as you're concerned. The third moment was the schoolboy, let's see, let Boko from Botswana. You know, there was a lot of talk about Noah Lyles doing the sprint quadruple. There was all talk about, but let's look at what this young boy has managed to do at 19. She's managed to win Africa's first gold medal of the short races at an Olympics or at a major championship. And when you know that the great Frankie Fredericks and all those people Olosoji Fasuba, and all many others tried to get that, but they could not get it. And the fact that she does it so effortlessly, especially coming after the tragic loss of her mother, his mother, sorry, I think that he deserves a mention. Not only did he do it at the Olympics, he did it for a few other races just to confirm. And it ended up this whole debate between the internal competition between Americans and Jamaicans. He saw Letsile winning the 200-meter gold and also setting very quick times. Deserves one of the moments of the year for me, up there. But and he's only 19, so again, there's a potential for what more can he give. So that is why
Absolutely.
when the sport is struggling to look for poster boys and poster girls, I think that is Brazil is one of going to be a kind of the poster boys of the sport. As even if he is not loudly, he's not loud, he's not brash, he just gets around with this business, and you can see he can only get better
Yeah.
because now imagine he was mourning the mom and winning an Olympic medal, gold for
Yes.
that matter. Now imagine when his head is clear, he can do anything. So I think 1919 is under threat from this guy. Let's see what the schoolboy can do from now on. My fourth moment of the year, Ashad Nadim. I mean, we talk too much about track, we talk too much about marathons and all that, but the infield, there's also great stories there, and there's none better story than this guy. He had nothing to train. Pakistan does not have any form of federation that does anything with athletics. He had to borrow his javelins. His village had to contribute for him to come and take his place. And guess what? He not only leaves with a gold medal, but he throws the farthest you've seen in almost a decade. And he has no formal training. He has just the brute law and love for the sport. And to beat Chopra also comes up with a little spice. You just need to watch Pakistan versus India in cricket, for example, to understand how big a victory this was. The beauty about him is when he went home, he just straight went to his village. Everyone wanted to celebrate him, use him for political reason, use him as a political mascot. He never forgot where he came from. And just seeing that this is his breakthrough year, let's see whether he's going to dominate the spotlight with the great Dodisten and all those Scandinavian greats in the javelin have come to dominate. And of course, he has disrupted Chopra because Chopra was supposed to be the crown prince of javelin, and this was supposed to be his crowning moment, having won the world title last year. But then Nadim comes along, and he's one of the most wonderful stories I've ever encountered in athletics, and that is why he deserves to be one of the top performers of this year. Last but not
No,
least,
definitely.
yes,
Definitely. And in fact, I was told that, you know, Jan Železny, who still has the world record, he was
yes,
really impressed with Arshad's technique.
yes,
So, though he doesn't have, you know, a well-known coach, but apparently his technique is very, very good. So we can expect more from Arshad Nadim.
but Nadim has the potential to rewrite the sport, quite
Yeah.
literally. And if he stays injury free and focused, because sometimes some of these things are so overwhelming, because you could see the way he was looking lost when he landed home, and all this adulation and attention, sometimes it doesn't work well with you. We saw the other day what happened to the tragic loss of Liam Payne of One Direction. Sometimes fame comes with its downside, so let's hope that he can live to see his potential, but he's definitely one of the stars of 2024. The last but not least, in so many moments, we have to mention Julian Alfred. And the reason why Julian Alfred is up there is he won the 100 meters title Olympics. We had the world champion Shekeri. We had so many things. Fraser Price pulling out, Thompson Hera pulling out. So this was supposed to be a procession for Shekeri, but Julian Alfred comes from nowhere, from Santa Lucia, and not only lives with the Olympic gold medal, he lives with a national holiday. He left there
Yeah.
with a national holiday in our honor. She put Santa Lucia on the map. I'm sure everybody searched for that country. Those who have not had it. There was a huge party thrown, and it's quite of that's why athletics is the best sport in terms of unearthing and bringing wonderful stories. Look at it this way: no one gave her a shout or a prayer. Yes, she has started in the US, she's done everything, but this was the classic David versus Goliath story. And this time, it's not the David won, but not the kind of David everyone was looking for. You know, I'm sure up to now, Shakiri cannot understand why she's not an Olympic and world champion because she came from and she went. Yes, the track was cold, it was wet, and all that, but you cannot take anything away from the performance, especially what it did for people of her nation and herself and her family. I think hers is just another wonderful story that came out of 2024. So there were so many picks and so many highlights to look for, but I think those five, uh, for me, cement my love for the sport because at some point, the sport starts becoming sort of mechanical, predictable, but the Olympics threw everything up in the air again. So now we have to start collecting things back and telling everybody, come on, guys, this is still athletics. And it gives us something also to look forward to because
Yeah.
we're used to, in some other sports, we're used to seeing certain teams dominate for so long, certain athletes dominate for so long. In athletics, no champion can rest after the Olympics glory, knowing that there's the World Championship in Tokyo next year. So people are going to push each other, and that is why I love this sport. The way these competitors are pushing each other in every discipline, track, field, roads. So I think that we might be seeing the end of the dominant era where we had one single athlete coming in. Of course, people like Rebrone will tend to disagree and feed Kipiegon, but at least we have a good mix of established stars and upcoming talent, and of course the shockers. And
Yeah.
2024 had quite a number of shocks.
Thank you, Mutwiri. Now, who are your new athletes to look out for next year, given their performances in 2024?
I will go for Quincy Wilson, the American. Sometime around during the indoor season, they started making a lot of noise. You know, track and field is big in America, collegiate sports is big in America. So there was a lot of buzz around him. It's like the unsigned hype that used to come, Sosa magazine, back when hip hop was a young genre. So there was a lot of unsigned hype about him. Until now, we got to see him at the Olympics, and we were like, wow. At 16, he's the youngest athlete in track and field ever, leave alone US, to win a gold medal at the Olympics, meaning that his career has started at the top of the tree, not at the bottom of the tree where everybody
Yeah.
starts and then you go up. He's reached the peak. He can retire now and retire an Olympic champion. You see? And yet his career has not yet started. He's done
Yeah.
great times. He has a 44:20 PB in 400 meters. I mean, that takes you straight into the top 20 of any year list, straight, and you're still 16. So I think that this is a guy who is going to illuminate or has the potential of illuminating track and field for the next foreseeable time. And now, after all the unsigned hype, now we know who he is. So I can't uh, I can't wait to see how he's going to do in 2020. What kind of a season he's going to have, especially with the World Championships and all these other Diamond League and all these other big events coming, as we shall discuss moving forward. But yes, the other one is
No,
not quite.
I definitely agree with you on Quincy Wilson because he had an absolutely fantastic year, starting in the indoors, as you said, and then on the 400 outdoors, he set the world under 18 best 3 times, and his 44:20 is also number 2 of all time in the under 20 list. And it's still number 11 on this year's senior lists. So really fantastic performances by Quincy Wilson. And he looks like a really cool kid.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to seeing him next year.
yeah. He reminds me of those athletes who just are more about going on with their business. He
Yeah.
looks like, let's see, like, in some ways, I just
Yeah.
go out there and do my business. I don't care about the showmanship. I don't care about, yeah, the showmanship and all that is good. It's good to have an athlete who can, you know, uh, whip up the crowd. But there is also the business like kind of athletes, and he looks very business like. And just consider he's 16. Let's not forget he's 16. He's quite the kind of people you want to come in the sport, because there was some time there 2 or 3 years ago, I was worried where athletics was going. Now that the people like the great Usain had retired and all those, I was wondering where the sport was going. But this year we've seen the sport has a future, and he is one of it. He's
Yeah.
part of it. So at least there is something to look forward to in the next few years from this young man who has started with a bang, so to speak.
And your other athlete?
This one is not quite young. Her
I
name
said
is
new.
Annette.
I didn't say younger.
Yes, I'm just saying it's not. She's not quite young. She does not fall in the category for one to look forward to. But her name is Annette Echikwong. Okay, we have issues with pronouncing Nigerian names back in this part of the world. Annette is just a beautiful story. She's just a beautiful story. From depths of despair to the peak of triumph, and knowing that it could have been all better. She won silver in the Hamadru at the Olympics, competing for the United States of America, the great United States of America. But in Tokyo 2020, the blundering Nigerian athletics officials made her disqualified, where I and it came after she had set 4 African records en route to the Tokyo Olympics, which were delayed, of course, 2021 because of the pandemic. She was on fire that season, having set 4 area records back to back. But somehow the world could not get to see who this lady is. So she sulked, of course, then went back, competed for the United States, and then she ends up in with silver at the Olympics. What a story! What a story of overcoming adversity. And to know that she had done that on the back of a solid season again just shows you that at 28, you feel like she doesn't believe that is where she should be. She believes she should be at a higher level. That is why she is one to watch out for, because having come through all that mess of being denied a chance at the Olympics, then getting to change your citizenship, then of course takes time, of course. So maybe Budapest she could not be there, but now she comes at the Olympics, wins silver, and she was not very far away from the goals. Just goes to show you that this is somebody we need to look out for coming next year, especially in Tokyo. When you look at it this way, the Nigerian officials continue to blunder. Even at Paris, Ophelia, Favor Ophelia, we remember, she could not compete the 100 meters. And I believe that I don't think she would have gotten into the medals, or maybe, but she would have been a finalist because she was in such good form. So to see you've prepared, you've worked yourself up to form, but only somebody with a pen and a paper kills your dreams, especially at the Olympics, and for you to recover and now come also to the podium and also leave everyone asking what will be. That is why Annette falls in my category of those to look out for, and somebody I'll be following next season, because I believe that she has had her chance of glory taken, but she has said no. I am going to get to the peak, and she's either going to get to the peak in Japan, or who knows, maybe at her home Olympics in Los Angeles. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's going to get to the peak and go to the middle
Thank,
step of the podium.
thank you, Mutwiri. So let's take a look now at new events. There have been many announcements between April and September about new meets and series, and all with one major point in common is vastly increased prize money. So we looked at them all in depth on the last show, but I'd like to ask our guest quickly what he thinks of each of these new events. So let's start with the women-only Athlos meet, which took place on 26 September in New York. Mutwiri, what is your take on Athlos?
Atlas is a breath of fresh air because for so long we have treated athletes as, for lack of a better word, as robots who just go. There's a season, there's an indoor season, then we go to the outdoor season, then we have a major championship, then we have the circuit racing, and then we run down the season with a final somewhere in Brussels or wherever it is, and then that's it. And then it made the sport, to, in my honest opinion, it made the sport one boring watch. Until now, when Atlas comes in, $60,000 for the winner, get all the best women who have performed in the year in under one roof, and then mix it up with great concerts, bring in Hollywood royalty, bring in musical royalty for one perfect blend of high octane athletics and entertainment. I think that is what was missing. And credit to Onahin and Serena Williams for coming up with this because we've seen other sports blend sports and entertainment. Athletics had been left behind. We had people like Noah Ryle saying that we need to shake up track and field a bit. We are show people, but we only get to show or perform in front of stadiums or maybe select meetings. We need to go out there. Personally, when I was watching athletes, one of my great things that captivated me to this was, let's say, watching Faith go to the New York Stock Exchange, watching her post with Megan the Stallion, the rapper, watching her with Rupita Nyong, of course, she's from Kenya, but going to cheer her the on the track. People like Lani Mado from CNN going to do almost something like that. So it stops. It makes these athletes not just running machines. It gives them some stardust, some celebrity of some sort. Which, and of course, when you take what they were taking home, $60,000 is not a mean payday. But me, beyond the $60,000, at least I could see a meet that had got very good running. We had the likes of Mary Moraa in there. We had so many other top female athletes, and also doing it for women. Also, it's another thing that is huge because for a long time, even in tennis, you know the WTA. There's always this debate: women, men. Do we pay them the same on the tour? Do we treat them? Do we keep them at the same pedestal? But to see a meet, the first meet of its kind devoted to women only, I think that is not just virtuous ignoring. I think that is something that has been its time has come. It is something that is long overdue. We needed to also place women at a pedestal. We also need to place women's sports at a pedestal the same way we look at the way we say that for women to excel, we must have a top field of men and all that. And it's not about being gender insensitive or all that. But yes, watching women for women event only, where they're getting good money, where there is a lot of entertainment, where there is a big crowd, I think that was one of the biggest score. And I hope that it continues for many years to come.
Well, women-only events have been held in Europe for many years. There's a really good one in the north of Italy, so it's not a new concept. But yes, the prize money and the entertainment aspect, of course, is new.
Look at it this way. When is the last time the originals, if you're a hip hop fan like myself, which I'm ashamedly am, seeing DJ Kirkland perform. He's one of the originals, with him, with G Nice. There was Dr. Rich Medina, there was Stretch Armstrong and Tony Touch. Seeing a dynasty of hip hop coming to perform for such an event, for me, was one of the huge draws. So that kind of marriage between sports and entertainment in athletics is what this sport has been trying, especially to attract itself to a younger audience who may not be very keen on the times, who may not be keen on the records. They just want to see fun, what they call it, Instagrammable fun or TikTok fun. So when you see Lupita and Faith doing funny things, you see Megan Thee Stallion and Faith or Mary Moraa and so on and so forth doing such things. I think we have stepped into the new age of athletics, and I'm very sorry for the purists, but I have to say this is the way to
go. Now, what about the Grand Slam track? Michael Johnson's creation set to start in April next year. What is your take on GST?
GST also the Grand Slam track. Yes, there has to be some sort of circuit. It's I'm not the idea is not that new because we've always had circuit races that lead to a Grand Slam of something. Even right here in Kenya, we had something like a variety series where you have athletes competing in a few meets and then they accumulate points and whatever, and then you get the Grand Slam. Yes, I think that the only thing is that. Michael Johnson, the legend that is Michael Johnson, needs to also open up to the other people who are trying to train track and field because they had an argument with Onahen about Ethlos, and he was trying to make Ethlos look like no, you should not do this, you should not do this, you should not invite athletes like this. No, open up to everybody. Just like you want everyone to embrace your idea, embrace other people's ideas, and I think the GST is a good addition to the calendar. Of course, it will have very high quality races because you are pitting the best against the best invited fields. And it also means that track and field now can become a lucrative business for any practicing athlete. And the more they come, they say, the more the merrier because now we are going to see global superstars of the sport. And I think GST is going to contribute in some ways to removing this sport as just a circuit sport or a major championship sport and taking it to wider TV audiences. Because at the end of the day, athletics is competing with so many other sports. We see what they are doing in football. They have increased, I don't know, the Club World Cup they have done. I don't know, they reformatted the Champions League. They have increased the number of teams in the World Cup. They have increased the frequency of events. So everybody is going for that share of the same population. So we welcome the GST and we wish for it to continue and also others so that at least we can have a variety of things to watch, but not discarding the traditional things. No. Let's just have the GST. If, for example, you go to the GST, you're also running in the Ethlos, good for you. So at least we get to see these athletes in a different shape and size and platform to what we have been used to for so many years that even Michael Johnson himself was one of the people who were saying that track and field has become very predictable. Noah Rios was one of the same things, was the same. I even spoke to some of my compatriots who do athletics, especially the young boys who are telling me the reason why they're going to the roads early and bypassing the track is because, first of all, income has dwindled on the track because more and more meetings have become condensed and also the invites have become tougher and also the conditions because of the anti-doping controls have become harsher. But now, if we open up so many other events in the track sphere, we might stop seeing this talent being drained from track and field to go to roads very, very early in their career. So bring more of these events, and the GST is a welcome addition. Let's see how the inaugural edition pans out before we pass judgment. But if it has anything close to Ethlos, we're writing good money and good business.
Now, I have two comments on that. First is for those who say athletics is becoming predictable, I would invite them to review the results in Paris. And when you say that this can, bring good livelihoods for athletes, yes, but it's only the top ones. So
Yes.
in some ways, you're giving more opportunities. You said yourself that it's difficult to get a lane in a meet. Now you have also these events like GST, where you have a small number of top athletes who get, I'm not saying they don't deserve the prize money. In GST, I think they do. Athlos, I think it was too much for the quality of result that we saw this year. If it continues and results improve, it will be different. But it's fact is, you're going to give more money to the top ones, and athletes who are mid-tier or just below the top 8, they're going to struggle.
The thing is, if we give money for more athletes in the top tier, in these, let's call them color events, or these showbiz events, let's call them showbiz events, isn't it? It means the other events also they'll have to vacate because they have to be pushed for they have to be pushed over. So the middle and the other athletes will now occupy that space. I'm looking at it in terms of what is happening, let's say in football. We've seen that top players are getting top dollar. So with every passing window, even in basketball, for example, the other day I had somebody, or even in Otani, for example, in baseball, he gets a 700 million contract. You don't even want to think about how much that money is. But when he wants to, but what it has done, it has gotten some movement. There is some movement because look at it this way: if I am a top athlete, for example, I have athletes, I have GST, and any other big event to aim for, where I'm going to make all the money maybe I would make in if I ran like 6 or 7 Diamond League meetings for me to get to the final. If I'm given that option, I might say, okay, let me deal with the money circuit. So it opens up a space here for somebody who is trying to make a name and who is willing to go through all the 7 meetings or maybe to make so there is going to be movement. What I meant is that the sport stagnating is that there was not a lot of movement in terms of getting elite athletes. You see, all have them in the big races in the Diamond League circuit. Now, for example, if you tell Faith, let me give an example with Faith. She gets her $60,000 from Atlas. Maybe she'll get DST, we don't know. But if she is able to make this amount of money in 3 or 4 races, so it means she will read the other, what are they called? Challenge tour meetings, even some of the DLs. Someone else will have to come and get in there. So let us open up the space. Let us open the income net so that we can at least attract more people. So if you have these events that are attracting the cream of the crop to go and run out there, then it leaves that there will be something down here left for us to below because these are food chain. If you move up to Athlos, and that means maybe there is an event maybe you do not have to run, let's say like Brussels or wherever, or you don't see the need to go to all these Diamond League meetings. You still open up the space, Anna. Yes, and there is also the aspect of entertainment. I've tried to introduce my firstborn, for example, daughter to athletics, but the most thing that strikes her most is not even watching those people run for those 7.5 laps, for those 2 laps, for the times. You know, she'd be wondering, why is dad uh, putting her mouth white? All what she's scared is the Instagrammable photos. You see, when they're going around with the selfies, with the flowers, you know, when they're going, that's so there is a generation that really does not want to know what are the times, what are the marks, and all that. And the only way we can attract them to the sport is making it Instagrammable. That is the term was taught, making it Instagrammable or TikTokable. So I think that we also need to do this because we'll end up having a whole generation who don't attract, they don't know, they not discover the love of this sport. For example, if you look at the social media space after Ruth Chemgetich won the Chicago, um, most of the Kenyans were congratulations for winning gold, congratulations for breaking record, but they could not put the performance in perspective, the splits. They could not put the how much this meant, how the women marathon has evolved when Radcliffe took it down by almost 5 minutes. Like all the most things they were concentrated on which is car she's going to buy, who is the boyfriend, who is all that. And when you look at that space, those are the people now we need to attract to our sport, whether we like it or not. Because at the end of the day, people must make a living. And at the end of the day, TV money must come in for some of us to stay at work. So we need to make this sport appealing to a younger audience, even if, I'm sorry, we sacrifice some of the so-called traditional and the legacy beliefs that we had in the sport. So yes, let us first of all show them Megan the Stallion. Then we try to explain to what faith means by winning 3 Olympic gold medals. Then bringing faith and saying, hey, here is Faith Chengetich, 3-time Olympic champion, 5-time world champion, 2-time world, 3-time world record holder, and all those other nice, beautiful statistics. But the most thing they will want to know, what did you tell Megan the Stallion? So let us have Megan the Stallion try to introduce faith to a broader, newer audience.
World Athletics also announced the creation from 2026 of a new global competition, the Ultimate Championships. Now, what do you think of this event?
When I read about it, when I read the nice press release they sent, I could not help thinking these people must have contacted Vince McMahon, the World Wrestling Entertainment Supremo. This is done from the book of Vince McMahon. Have all the biggest stars. The winner of the Intercontinental Champion. We have the winner of the Tag Team Champion, and bring all these things to the WrestleMania. So one big event where all the champions meet and then they fight for the ultimate prize. This is done from a Vince McMahon script, totally, without editing it out, without doing it out. Where you have different, we have the Survivor Series winner, you have the tag team champion, you have the Intercontinental champion, you have even the world champion, the cage match champion, and so many other things. Then you have the WrestleMania, which now sort of like it's the Super Bowl of athletics now. That is the Ultimate Championship. Do I think it is supposed to be there? I, for one, would want to see a field where we just have all this, because there is always this feeling that top athletes tend to hide away from each other. For example, look at Sydney McLaughlin, Levrone, and versus Femke Ball. They sort of scattered around
Femke
each
isn't
other.
hiding. You can't say Femke is hiding. It's Sydney who doesn't like to cross the Atlantic.
Listen. I am saying, look at that example, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anyone is hiding, but I'm not saying any of them is hiding, but we know who shows up more. What I'm saying is, sometimes you might find these people tend to circle each other until when they can't, it's unavoidable at the Olympics. So
depends on events. The hurdles, they're always racing each other.
Yes,
the high hurdles.
I'll give you
all
an
of them are always racing each other. So
back in the day, Gallagher and Hyder had this cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
They never really liked being together or competing against each other. So for whatever reason, when this one is doing Berlin, the other one will be very far away in New York. We have some other examples in history. We had before Pamela nosedived and all that. She and Janet had this thing we cannot, So there's no hiding place with the Ultimate Championship. There will be nowhere to hide for the Olympic champion. There will be nowhere to hide for the world champion, the top athlete of the year, the record holder, and all these things. We have going to see who is, and then it will just spark the kind of debate and interest you want in the sport. Because, for example, we say that the Olympic gold is worth more than the World Championship gold, but because one comes 4 years, the other one comes every 2 years. But then, how do you explain somebody who wins like 3 world titles back to back and wins an Olympic silver? So it's going to help settle some of those debates that we've had. For example, where between when you look at, let's say, you have the world leader. Back in the day, we used to have people who are very good circuit runners, but when the pressure of the championships comes and somehow they can't make it. So
Kipsiele-Koech.
Yes, good example. Or even Bungei before he won his Olympic gold, he used to swim at major championships. Every time the rain would have. So we are going to have all those people in an event where we don't have the pressure of you're competing for your nation or you're competing for everything. It's just me versus you versus the other one, and we're all big and we're all great. So yeah, I am totally in agreement with it. And don't forget, it has got a mean $150,000 prize money.
Yeah, huge.
That is going to be huge in any way. So I think that we are going to see the champion of the champions, like they say, the champion du champion. No, so the champions of the champions. So let us see how it goes. The first edition is 2026. Very wise decision to hold it after a world championship, because I thought if it came next year, it would have directed the world championship. So we are going to have many Olympic versus world versus record holder versus top. Let's have it. And then it's September, towards the close of the season. The more the merrier. Let's see who is the champion of the champions. And take home that $150,000. I'm sure there's some people who have already started thinking about it now.
Thank you, Mutwiri. So we'll see how all this goes. And now it's time to go back to the global overview of our sport and check out all the best results of the past fortnight, starting with the senior men. Now, top men and women's marks among the senior, of course, came from Chicago Marathon. So as we saw, John Corir, 2 hours, 02:43, that's worth 1,284 points and is the second best mark of the season. Mohamed Asa, 2:04:39, Amos Kipruto, 2:04:50, Vincent Kipkemoi Ngetich, 2:05:16, and debutant Daniel Simiyu Ebenyu, 2:06:04, just below our cutoff of 1,230, but a notable performance. Among the men, the top men's performance of the year remains, of course, the humongous 2:26 third world record of the year by Monto Duplantis, worth 1,339 points. Among the women, of course, top of the top is Ruth Chepngetich, 2:09:57 world record. Sutume Asefa Kebede, 2:17:32. She previously had the best mark of the year with 2:15:25. That was shattered. And we saw also Irene Chepet Cheptai, 2:17:51. And the last one to make our cut is Buze Diriba of Ethiopia in 2 hours 20:22. Now, this is interesting. Best women's performance of 24 is now the new marathon world record by Ruth Chepngetich. It dethrones the 400-meter hurdles record by Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone at the Paris Olympics. And that is worth 1,339 points. And it's the third best ever score for any women's event. And just 2 throwing event world records from the 80s have a higher result score. That's discus Gabriele Heinz, 76 meters 80, 1,382 points. Shot put Natalia Lisovskaya, 22 meters 63, 1,372. Then we have now Chepngetich. Behind her, long jump Galina Chistiakova, 7 meter 52, 1,333 points. Heptathlon Jackie Joyner Kersey with 7,297 points. That's worth 1,331. And then we have Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone with her 50.37 in Paris, which is 1,322 points, better than the 100 meters by Florence Griffith Joyner, 10:49. So 2 performances this year. Ruth Chepngetich moves into third, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, they're the only performances among the best ever among the world record, whose result score is very high and that weren't established in the 80s. So that's an interesting little fact. So there were no top under 20 marks over the past fortnight, but there were some interesting performances from South African under 18 athletes who already started their season because, of course, it's now spring in the Southern Hemisphere. None of these marks are on the World Athletics list, but it sometimes takes weeks or even months for under 18 results to appear there. But several of them are on respected stats website Tilastopaya, and the others are all confirmed by various South African media outlets. So here we go. 110 hurdles. On 18 September in Pretoria, Matozi Ndou ran 12:94. That would be number 3 in the under 18 all-time list. Tilastopaya has the mark as 12.98, but all South African media confirmed that it was 12.94. And also they confirm that Matosi's last name is Ndou, not NDO, as he appears on World Athletics and Tilastopaya. Always in the 110 hurdles, the 91.4 centimeters, Naim Jack clocked 13.24 on 13 October, also in Pretoria. That would be equal number 17 in the under all-time list, but Naim Jack already has number 4. Moving on to the 400 hurdles, Lesiba Dikdale, also in Pretoria, 18 September, 50.42. Tilastopaya has this result. It's not on World Athletics, but it would be the number 16 under 18 of all time. And then we have the most interesting result of them all in the sprint relay, 39.92 by Kuro Hazeldine High School in Pretoria on 12 October. That is Matosi Ndou, Inam Dulunge, Adam Motluong, Zatu Longwane. That would be the world best, but it's not on the World Athletics list. And Tilastopaya does not have a list for under 18 all-time relays. So the 39.95 improves the mark set in July 2015 by Elite Speed Youth Track Club. And as we saw, the lead was hurdler Matosi Ndou, who has already set excellent marks this year and officially entering the top 15 in the under 18 all-time lists in the high hurdles. And we just saw his recent mark, 12.94, and he also registered what would be the number 12 mark over the last weekend in the 400 hurdles with 50.31, but we haven't seen many confirmations of this result, so we're not listing it yet. So Mutwiri, talking about amazing youngsters, what under 20 or under 18 athletes impressed you the most this year?
One of them we've already discussed quite at length. That is Quincy Wilson from the USA in 400 meters. What that guy has done this year is phenomenal. Apart from winning the Olympics gold, he's also gotten into the 44.10s in the 400 meters and, of course, 22.12 in the 200 meters. For the men, I think that he has been the standout performer in a field of so many outstanding performances from the under 18s this year. For the women, I'll go for Faith Cherotich. We call her last born here in Kenya. She managed to go there and get the bronze for the steeplechase behind former Kenyan Wilfred Yavi, and of course the Olympic champion from Tokyo, Pero Chemutai, who is back to her imperious best. But she went ahead and now blew Yavi and the rest of the field and Chemutai apart to win the Diamond League final. And this girl is only she's barely touched her 20s. So there's a reason why we call her the last born. At some point, you also wonder which is the next big female star to come from this part of the world. I think Faith Cherotich, and she's been around for quite a while. She's won her under 20s and so many other titles. But now to be able to win a bronze medal at the Olympics, barely out of her teens, and also to come and win the Diamond League title and to see the caliber of the field she beat. So she's my under 20 athlete performer of the year for the women. And she has gone to hold her own for the next few years, and a lot of expected of her, especially now we have Yavi sweeping the floor with everyone, and also knowing that for Kenya, for us now, we want it home. Yes, and Yavi is such a brilliant athlete. I like the fact that she's so outspoken, she's so well, but yeah, she represents Bahrain now. So our last one, I hope she will come there next year and bring the world title home.
Thank you, Mutwiri. So, of course, Faith Kidogo is already 20, but yes, I agree that she had a fantastic year. So we're going to go ahead with Faith. Now,
Yeah.
let's move now to Athletes of the Year, because we get to the end of the season where everyone, global, continental, national associations, everybody's about to select their Athletes of the Year. So World Athletics has now finally started its process with a revised system, respect to last year when they sprung a surprise on the athletes who thought they were vying for athlete title of Athlete of the Year. And in fact, they were contesting titles in 3 categories: track, field, and out of stadium events. Now, this year, 5 nominees, male and female, are being announced for each category. And voting will determine the 2 finalists. So voting 50% World Athletics Council, 25% World Athletics Family, that's meet organizers, media, etc., and 25% social media. After that, registered users of World Athletics Inside Track will then vote to determine the overall Athlete of the Year. Now, here are the nominees for Field Athletes of the Year, announced on 14 October, with voting from 14 to 21 October. So, World Athletics Field Event Athletes nominees: among the men, Ryan Krauser in the shot put, Jordan Diaz Fortun in the triple jump, Mondo Duplantis in the pole vault, Ethan Katzberg in the hammer, Miltiadis Tedoglu in the long jump. And among the women, Valerie Allman in the discus, Tara Davis Woodhall in the long jump, Nina Kennedy in the pole vault, Yaroslava Maruchik in high jump, and Nafi Tiam in combined events. Now, nominees for Track Athletes of the Year will be announced on 21st October, with voting from the 21st to the 27th. And this I find a little strange. Nominees for Out of Stadium Athlete of the Year will be announced on 28 October, with voting from the 28th of October to the 3rd of November. So before New York Marathon. Weird. 4 of November, the finalists will be announced for each category, and fan vote begins. So, Mutwiri, what do you think of this revised process?
Well, just like last year, I think that we are sort of diluting things. Yes, there is always that push to be all inclusive and all, because it's very difficult to objectify or subjectify what qualifies to be an athlete of the year, but there's always the standout athlete, whether it is a track and field. So by trying to accommodate so many things, we are actually diluting these things and robbing it of the allure and the luster it has had over the years, because we are all now confused. So we have to get those to the field. So if you're going to have an overall athlete of the year, for example, you have your field athlete of the year, you have your track athlete of the year, you have the out of the stadium athlete of the year. There are 3 athletes who have been named athletes of the year in their particular disciplines. So out of the 3, how do you tell any of the 3 to you're the overall athlete in the year? Because if you've already crowned Mutwiri is the field athlete of the year, then you crown Anna is the track athlete of the year women, and then you crown somebody else as the best out of the stadium. Now you have to pick from the 3 of those to become overall athlete of the year. I think it's not fair on the athletes. I think this is something they should have rethought it. The way I think we are trying to change so many things, even those that are not broken. Yes, it's good to fix things. It's good to move with the times. It's good to be more inclusive, more accommodating. But sometimes we should always try to move and retain what is common sense. We're trying to dilute what was essentially something that is great. Because you could see even those people who awarded last year, they were looking like rabbits under the headlights. They were all off.
Bewildered.
Yeah, they were bewildered. Yes, correct. That's the right word.
Yeah.
So I think I don't agree with this format at all. Even when it comes to voting, even as member of the family, it's going to be very difficult because, for example, how do you pit someone like like Nadim, for example, who's done great in his own ways, and you put the same person under the same measuring tool or somebody else with the Tamil Stroller, for example. I think it's fair on it's unfair on the athletes. It's even unfair on the voting public because now they'll be looking like athletics. We don't know what we are doing, and this is the kind of the messages we want to run away from. So just return whatever was there. It's okay. We tried. It did not work. Even us, when at the Soya, we tried to have this thing. We tried to have, I don't know, the sportsman of the year in ball games. We tried to have the sportsman of the year in field. And you can't accommodate everybody in life sometimes. So, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you nominate or who you win. There'll always be debate. So if you're trying
it's subjective. It's
yes,
always subjective.
It's very subjective. So if you're trying to sanitize things and avoid debate, you're actually creating more debate than when it was there. So let us just stop. Let's stop hiding under the woodwork and just come and say that yes, the nominees for the Athletes of the Year, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have Mondo, we have so and so and so and so forth. Then the female Athletes of the Year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And right now, all of us now, the family, everybody now vote for that, because it's like you're telling me to vote for a field athlete of the year who I feel strongly deserves to be the athlete of the year, who won't make the overall athlete of the year. It's a bit all over the place.
Yeah, I also think it's a little strange. So European Athletics has already started its voting process for its Golden Track Awards to select the Athlete of the Year and Rising Stars. Winners will be announced on 26 October. Here are the EA nominees and finalists. So Male Athlete of the Year, they had Nicolas Alekna, Jordan Diaz, Mondo Duplantis. The ones in bold are their finalists: Leo Fabri, Matthew Hudson-Smith, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Marcus Ross, Gianmarco Tamberi, Miltiadis Tedoglu, and Karsten Warholm. And as we saw, finalists: Duplantis, Ingebrigtsen, and Tedoglu. The EA Athlete of the Year nominees that was Nadia Battocletti in the 5 and 10, Femke Boll, Sifan Hassan, Keely Hodgkinson, Natalia Kaczmarek, Jaroslava Mahuchik, Malaika Mihambo, Yemisi Ogunleye, Sirena Samba Mayela, and Nafisa Tutiam. Now here I'm a bit surprised at their finalists, because Femke Boll and Jaroslava Mahuchik, nothing to say. But honestly, Keely Hodgkinson, I think Nafi Thiam winning her third Olympic title and winning the European title, she definitely deserved that. Hodgkinson didn't compete at the Europeans. Yes, she won the Olympics, but I don't know. I voted for Nafi. Among the European male rising stars, Mutwiri, I don't expect you to know these athletes. Rocco Farkas in the sprints and long jump. Andreas Fjeld Halvorsen in the 1500 and 3000. Thomas Järvinen in combined events. He came within 10 points of the world under 20 record. Josif Kesidis of Cyprus in the hammer throw. Niels Larosa from 800 to 3000, a fantastic season for the young Dutchman. Hendrik Müller, Michal Rada in the 400 hurdles and combined events. Stanislav Strezelecki in 400, Tom Teršek in the javelin, and Jarno van Dalen in the shot and discus. And the finalists are Thomas Järvinen, Josif Kesidis, and Niels Laros. Nothing to say here. Among the European female rising stars, nominees were Vita Barbic in javelin and discus, Laura Frlichkova in the 100 hurdles, Phoebe Gill in 800. She also had a very good Olympic game. Klara Hegeman in the hammer throw, Jana Košak of Croatia in combined events, Lourdes Maria Gloria Manuel of Czech Republic in the 400, Plamena Mitkova of Bulgaria in the long jump, Meta Tumba of France in the 400 hurdles, Elisa Valentina of Italy in the 200 and 400. And then there are little like Mutwiri. They also count Adriana Vilagos, who is already 20. She has a fantastic season. So obviously they're not the same. It doesn't have to be an under 20 athlete for European athletics. And finalists, Phoebe Gill, Jana Koszczak, and Adriana Vilagos. So in the meantime, we're continuing our own poll. So Mutwiri, who are your personal athletes of the year?
Well, on the track, I shall go with Letsile Tebogo. He's been quite a breath of fresh air, and of course, winning that 200-meter gold that is history for an entire continent or an area, as World Athletics call them. The first gold medal of any generation in 200 meters, one of the races that is considered to be one for America. So, as far as the track is concerned, that is my athlete of the year. The female athlete of the year, I agonized for so long, but then I settled on Beatrice Chebet. She's now a major in the Kenya Defense Forces. The reason being, she did an Olympics double. This is not unprecedented. We've had Chirinesh Dibaba doing it. I think in Beijing. Was it Beijing or London? I'm not sure.
Beijing.
But yeah, Beijing. But she became the first Kenyan, male or female, to return home a double Olympic medalist from the same event. Yes, we've had only 5 Kenyans who've won. I think there are 6 now who have won multiple Olympic gold medals. But Chebet did it in one Olympics. And look at the caliber of opposition she beat. In 5,000, she beat Faith Kipyegon, of course, the world record holder at the distance. In 10,000, she beat a certain Sifan Hassan, who we shall hear about more. So it's not just only winning the 2 gold medals, it's the caliber of opposition she beat. We had the likes of Betsenebet and so much. Like she just showed up and beat very good fields in both of her events. So that goes for my track performance of the year. As for the marathon, I have Tamirat Tora, the Olympic champion, of course. The Ethiopian blew a field that had the goat in it. It doesn't matter whether the goat is at 10%, 8%, but him being in the race, everybody talking about him, everybody talking about the legacy of the Olympics, everybody talking about the first repeat champion in the marathon in the Olympics. But for Tamira Tora to just not only win, but the dominating quite a field, one of the most powerful, forceful fields ever gathered for an Olympics, that to me is the marathon display of the year. Of course, there have been other good marathon displays. We had London, we had Tokyo, we had even Chicago. But doing it at the Olympics does it for me, for Tamira Tora from Ethiopia. In the women, I mentioned Sifan Hassan, where I was talking about Beatrice Chebet, but having ran 5,000 meters at an Olympics, again, is such a great field. Then you do 10,000 meters and you get away with a medal. Again, it's a very good field. Then you show up at the marathon where we have the then women's only marathon record holder in Perez Jepchirchir. We had the Olympic champion, Perez Jepchirchir. Again, you had the world champion. You had every other champion in that race. And then you go and win the Olympics title in a marathon, having done 5:10. I think this is a performance just not for the marathons and everything, but it should be a performance for all athletics in terms of when it comes to nominating the women athlete of the year. But we all know that is not how it goes. But to me, she was sensational. And she's just a sensational athlete, one of the like one of a kind. I don't think there is anyone who is able to do so many distances within such a span of time. And in fact, she wanted to throw in the 1500 as well, don't forget, until she said she's out of it. And I'm sure she would have been somewhere within or just outside the medal. So great athlete Sifan is. In the field, of course, we have from Pakistan, Asham Nadim, the Olympic javelin champion. I don't think there's any other good story from the field you're going to see than that one. in this or any other year so far. He is just a great champion from Pakistan, breaking frontiers in his sport. And to know that he was just coming in and to come on with a big medal, that is the male female field athlete of the year for me. As for the women, there is Yoslava Mahushi from Ukraine. She is such a lovely, 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 lovely woman, young woman. She has come to Nairobi 3 times. I've had the pleasure of interviewing her, talking about the conflict at home, how she hasn't seen family for over many, many years, maybe 3 or 5 years. How she graduated from an under 20 champion now to an Olympic champion, a world champion at the tender age of 23. I think Yaroslava is just one of those beautiful athletes you want to see and performing. She reminds me of Blanca Vlasic, somebody who just performs no matter what you throw at her. And to know that she's now at the pinnacle of her sport, she's won every big medal before even she stands 24. We may be having a global superstar in our hands here, Anna. So, as far as the field athletes, women is concerned, she's my athlete of the year.
Thank you, Mutwiri. So I'd like now to highlight some cool athletics news and start with congratulations to 48-year-old Mark Kiptoo, who continues to run and win marathons. His last success came in the Three Countries Marathon in Bregenz, Austria, which he won in 2 hours 10:54. Congratulations, unstoppable Mark Kiptoo. And of course, tributes continue to be paid to athletes for their 2024 or career achievements. Triple Olympic champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce was not at her best in Paris, but her career is absolutely amazing. And she will now have a street named after her. The Ashoka Road in Kingston, where she was born and raised, will be renamed the Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce Drive. And of course, we remember that women's 100-meter winner, Julian Alfred, had a national holiday declared in her name on 27 September when she returned to her island, the culmination of 4 days of crazy celebration. Celebration, we remember, were of course very exuberant for Letsile Tebogo in Gaborone, and he went back right after the Paris Olympics before coming back on the Diamond League circuit with some fantastic performances. Now, Shelly-Ann will have a road. Noah Lyles now has a beer, a special release titled Noah Lyles 100-meter Golden Ale, produced in his hometown of Alexandria. So great. I was looking for a picture of the beer, but I couldn't find it. But I did read that the brewery is solar powered, so which is really cool. And if I can taste one, I definitely will try it out.
Did you also get engaged this week?
Yes, exactly. To his long-term Jamaican girlfriend. Quite right.
Yeah, that's cool too, right?
A great year all the way around for Noah.
I mean, American, Jamaican,
Yes.
Let's
see. Let's see what happens.
I want to see the day when a Kenyan athlete will get engaged to an Ethiopian
athlete. Yes.
That would be super cool.
We haven't seen that happening quite yet.
No, you have never seen it. Yeah. I'm not saying it will be. If an American and Jamaica can do it, maybe.
Maybe see. Trailblazer, you never know.
Yeah. But it's so cool to have a beer named after you. Then you get engaged within the same space, your hometown. I also read Fred Curley. They also did something. They named something after him in his hometown.
I missed that. All right.
Yeah, and also Kenny Bendarek. They also did something in his old college. So it's good to see these athletes getting honored in such a way by where they come from. Kenny is one of my favorite athletes, of course. But so I saw last week he went out on his alma mater and they named maybe something. It's either a hall or something. They also honored Fred Curley. So yeah, it's good to see these guys getting that kind of recognition. It's so cool because now it means they have transcended barriers. They are not just running machines or running robots. They are also people in the society. People can emulate. Also, another cool story is also Gabby Thomas. I think she's graduating from medical school, if I'm not mistaken.
She's unreal. She is
Yeah,
absolutely unreal.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
graduating from medical school, and it made me look and be like, wow, how do you do medicine and then also manage to put up such performances? Because both of them require surgical focus and surgical precision. So
Yeah, yeah.
medical school and top level athletics, that's a cool combination, right?
Yes, definitely. No, she's a totally amazing human being. Yes,
Yeah.
big fan of Gabby Thomas. But
I saw it on Track and Field Gazette. The
all
engagement
right.
party was very nice for Ryan Krauser. And the fiance is also a former, I think, pole vaulter. So they had a very nice engagement party, and then all these big stars came, and it was very cool to see when you see Ryan Krause and how big he is. And also the
Well,
fact that he also trained an Olympic champion. It's wonderful
I mean,
to
Natalia
hear such.
Kaczmarek married
Yeah,
Bukowiecki, and he's,
yeah,
former standout. He's still a good thrower, but he was excellent when he was
yeah,
under 20. And
yeah,
she's really slim, and he's obviously a
yeah,
big, strong guy.
yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah,
Anything
Ryan Krause, I enjoyed it.
happens.
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful, especially seeing that whole engagement. He whisked her away somewhere, very romantic, whisked her away. Then she said yes, and then the whole of track and field world is like, congratulations, congratulations. So it's an off season of romance in this track and field.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, after the good news now, unfortunately, more sad news as several top protagonists of athletics have left us in the past weeks. So, barrier breaking Soviet shot putter Alexander Baryshnikov passed away on 15 September, aged 75. He was the first prominent athlete to adopt the now prevalent rotational technique, which was apparently invented by a Czech thrower in the 50s, but popularized by Baryshnikov's coach, Viktor Alexeyev. 1 month before the 1906 Olympic Games, Baryshnikov had improved the world record by 15 centimeters to exactly 22 meters. But then he was bronze at those Olympic Games in 76, and he earned silver in 1980. In between, he was bronze in the World Cup in 79, which was then a very big competition, and he had taken European silver in 1978. US 400-meter runner Otis Davis, who first broke the 45 seconds barrier, passed away on 14 September, aged 92. Having entered the University of Oregon on a basketball scholarship and never run before, aged 26, Davis saw athletes on the track and decided he could beat them. So he approached coach Bill Bowerman and asked to join the track team, where he was initially directed towards high jump and long jump. 2 years later, he made the US Olympic team for the 1980 Rome Olympics in the 400 meters. Having only contested 9 400-meter races before Rome, Davis first defeated German favorite Karl Kaufmann in the individual race in a photo finish, with both men given the same time of 44.9. Then he also took gold in the 4 by 400 meter relay, 3:02.2, both hand timed. So 2 gold medals in 2 world record times for Otis Davis in Rome. Davis only continued to compete for another year, then focused on his career, becoming a teacher, mentor, and coach, a running skills program in the spring and summer to complement schools' PE programs, and also directed programs encouraging children with special needs to participate in sports activities. He is one of the University of Oregon's icons featured on the Hayward Field Tower, along with Bill Bowerman, Steve Prefontaine, Ashton Eaton, and Raven Rogers. On 4 September, Cuba's National Institute of Sports, Physical Education and Recreation, INDER, announced the passing of sprinter Hermes Ramirez, aged 76. Ramirez had been hospitalized for 5 days following a neurovascular accident. The sprinter was part of the Cuban 4x100 meter relay team, which took silver in the 1968 Olympics, unofficially breaking the world record in the first semifinal, a record which was later bettered by other countries in successive heats and final. So in 1968, as we saw, Olympic silver in the 4x100 relay. In 1967, he had been bronze in the individual 100 meters at the Pan Am Games and silver in the sprint relay. In 1971, he was 5th in the individual 100 meters and again silver in the sprint relay. And 1975, another bronze in the Pan Am Games 100 meters and a third silver in the 4x100 meter relay. After ending his sporting career, Ramirez became a PE teacher and coach and served as coach for the national team for 5 years in 2008 to 2012, then worked in Mexico and Panama. On 29 August, Romanian javelin thrower Mihaela Penes passed away, aged 77. She had caused a surprise in Tokyo 1964, improving her PB by over 4 meters in the first round to take the Olympic title aged just 17 years and 3 months, with a throw of 60 meters 54, becoming only the third woman to break the 60-meter barrier. 4 years later, in 1968, she took silver. In between, she had taken silver at the European Championships in 1966 and gold at the Universiade in 1965. Penes concluded her active career after the 1968 Games and then worked as an athletics coach and official. She joined the Romanian Olympic Committee in 1990 and in 1995 became the head of the international department, then briefly served as general secretary in early 1999. And finally, on 29 August, German decathlete Kurt Bendlin passed away at the age of 81. He had first excelled in the javelin throw, earning medals in that event in national age group championships. Bendlin then focused on decathlon, winning his first of 4 national titles in 1965. In 1967, he set the world record with 8,319 points, which would be 8,235 with today's scoring tables. In 1968, he took Olympic bronze after injury in preparation stopped him for 6 weeks. Bendlin's career was marked by numerous injuries. He underwent 14 operations while active, including 2 in 1966, the year before his world record. After concluding his sport career, Bentlin became a sports teacher and organized camps and training courses for parents and children and for manager, publishing a book, Fitness for Managers. He also modeled for sculptor Arno Breker and was cast in bronze. And finally, Jamaican long sprinter George Roden passed away on 24 August, aged 97. Roden, who was born in Jamaica and later moved to the US, excelled there on the college scene, taking 3 NCAA and 3 AAU titles. Roden was a versatile runner who took part in the 1948 Olympics in both the 100 and 400, but went out respectively in the heats and semifinal, and won 800-meter gold in the 1950 Central American and Caribbean Games. In 1948, there were great expectations for the Jamaican 4x400 relay, but the winner of the individual 400 meters, Arthur Wint, was injured in the final, dashing their hopes. In 1950, Roden set the 400-meter world record with 45.8, improving the mark of compatriot Herb McKinley. At the 1952 Olympics, he signed his masterpiece, taking gold both in the individual 400 meters and gold in the 4x400 meters, anchoring Jamaica, which set a world record of 3:03.9. And he was the last Jamaican to win the 400 meters, part of the last team to win the 4x400 relay. Roden has been the last surviving member of the relay team. So may all of these great champions rest in peace. Let's look now at upcoming events as we reach the end of our show. On 20 October, World Cross Country Tour Gold event in Amorebieta in Spain, the Cross Internacional Zornoza. On the same day, TSCS Amsterdam Marathon, as well as the Asian Cross Country Championships. The following week in Atapuerca, the World Cross Country Tour Gold continues. Same day is also Valencia Trinidad Half Marathon and the Chengdu Marathon in China. On the 3rd of November, of course, the TCS New York City Marathon, the last of the World Marathon Majors, but also Istanbul Marathon, Beijing Marathon, and Hangzhou Marathon. Cross Country Tour continues with the Cross Internacional de San Sebastián. That's a silver event on the 3rd of November. And on the 9th of November, Cardiff Cross Challenge is a cross-country tour gold event. There's also a silver event on the same day, Sparkassen Cross in Pforzheim in Germany. On 10 of November, World Cross Country Tour Gold event in Soria. And then, I really don't understand this, on the 17th of November, there are 3 different World Cross Country Tour Gold events taking place. The Cinque Mulini in San Vittorio Lona, the Cross International Le Maine Libre Allons-Sarthe in Alonne, and the Cross International de Italica in Santi Ponce. It really beats me how you can have 3 cross-country tour gold events on the same day. And of course, the Great Ethiopian Run, also 10 kilometers, also takes place. That's not maybe one of the most hyped events on the circuit. It doesn't. It's not ranked in a very high category by World Athletics, but it is such a huge event in Addis that it really deserves to be in our calendar. So we're now at the end of our program, and it was great having Mutwiri back with us on the show.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful show. We've gone through the highs, and of course, for all those great champions who've left us, maybe let's go and prepare a nice place for us when we join them in future, and they may rest in peace. But it's been a sensational year. I thought that the last time we spoke at this time of the year last year, we had said that 2023 takes some topping up to do. 2024 has exceeded that by some miles and by some distance. So let's see what 2025 has in hold for us. But I think we are going to witness more history as we have witnessed this year. But I think for whatever time is remaining, let us try to put and take stock of what has transpired this year with some great athletes' performances, individual or also the team in the relays. So it was wonderful being in this show, and I'm looking forward to being a guest again.
Thank you so much, Mutwiri. It was really great having you as always. And thank you all for watching. See you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics to look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis of what's been happening in the sport we love in the past fortnight. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao.